In Silicon Valley, there's a currency that's way more valuable than cash, and that's trust. For years, one company, Carta, was the Fort Knox of that currency. They were the undisputed system of record for over 40,000 startups, managing the most sensitive ownership data for $1 trillion in equity. They were the company everyone had to trust. And then, in just 72 hours, they basically lit that trust on fire.
And this was the tweet that kicked the whole thing off. On January 5th, 2024, Kari Saarinen, the CEO of a super high-profile startup called Linear, just dropped an absolute bombshell. He flat-out accused Carta, the very company he pays to protect his most sensitive data, of turning around and using that exact same data to secretly hit up his investors.
So that's the big question here, right? Why would a company that basically has a monopoly, a company worth $7.4 billion, risk everything? Well, the answer, it's all about this hidden battle that was raging inside the company between two completely different business models.
Okay, let's get into it. To really get what happened, you can't think of Carta as one company. You gotta see it as two. First, you have the business that made them famous, what we're gonna call the SaaS castle. And second, you have the business that all their investors were betting on, the transactional rocket. So, the castle, that's their main gig, their core software business. It's all about managing cap tables for startups. You can think of it as the steady, reliable foundation of their whole empire. Then you've got the rocket. That was Carta X. This was their moonshot, their big, risky bet to become a stock exchange for private companies. This was all about explosive growth. And yeah, these two things were heading straight for each other, a total collision course.
Let's talk numbers, because this is where the story gets absolutely wild. I mean, this SaaS castle was an absolute fortress. In 2023 alone, it pulled in a whopping $250 million in nice, steady, recurring subscription revenue. By any standard, that is a fantastic, world-class software business. Okay, so what about the revenue from that high-flying rocket ship Carta X? Get ready for this, a shockingly tiny $3 million. Nope, that is not a typo. We're talking $250 million on one side and just $3 million on the other. So why in the world would they risk their entire castle for a side hustle that was making practically nothing? So what happens? Late 2023, the venture market starts to cool down, and that pressure cooker just explodes. Leadership made a fateful decision. They decided to fuel the rocket using the one thing they shouldn't have touched, the castle's private data. All right, check out this timeline. You're going to see how fast this all fell apart. It starts in late 2023. Carta's own salespeople start digging through that private cap table data. You know, the data they're paid to protect. They use it to cold call their customers' investors.